Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will talk about Fusion. We are not talking about Fusion music. We are talking about Fusion that is done by your DAX engine. So, what do we mean by fusioning in general? Take a look at this page of this report. We have two visuals that is pulling some information from your data model. Each and every visual that you see here is going to send one or more queries to your data source. So fusioning is a process where rather than sending many queries to your data source, we are sending less queries to get the same result, which means it is going to improve the load time of your visuals and it's also going to improve the performance across all reports. Now let's understand how fusioning is done automatically by your DAX engine. So we need to understand the concept that each and every visual is not directly talking to your data source. Rather, it generates a DAX expression first. This DAX expression is handed over to the formula engine, which understands what the DAX is. And based on that expression, it will send one or more queries to your storage engine. The storage engine can either be your pre-cached Vertipack engine or it can be your direct query data sources. So in this example, we will start with a data model and here it is. Between the product model and the product table, we are having a one-to-many relationship. And this one-to-many is often called as a regular relationship. Why? Because both these tables are coming from the same continent. In other words, both of them are using the storage mode as import. And there is a guarantee that the product model ID in the product model table will be unique. Similarly, between the sales order header and the sales order detail, we have a regular relationship because both of them are using the storage mode direct query and they come from the same data source, which is AdventureWorks LT2019. And hence there is a guarantee that the sales order ID in the sales order header table will be unique. But what about this relationship? It's not a regular, rather it is a limited relationship because there is no guarantee that the product ID on the product table will be unique because it crosses continents, it crosses islands. So fusioning happens only with regular relationship. It doesn't happen quite naturally with respect to limited relationships. So we have a few measures which is going to do some aggregation on top of each one of these tables. So let's understand this one by one. So I'm going back to my report and we will start with the measures first. So on the product tables, we have a few measures. The first measure is the total list price, which does the sum of the matching products list price. We have another measure which is the total standard cost, which does a sum of the standard cost of matching products. We have another measure called total products, which just counts the matching products in your product table. So I'm going to go ahead and start using these measures so that we can find out how fusioning happens automatically. So let's go to the second page, which is the import continent. So on this visual, I am seeing the total standard cost, total list price, and the total number of products against each product model. Have I applied any filters on top of this report? Let's find out. So on the filters pane, you can notice I have a filter at the report level on weight. I have a filter on the page level on standard cost. And at a visual level, I'm even filtering the product model. Now with this understanding, let's go and ask Power BI and even its engine how many queries were generated. So the first step is you need to know what the DAX query that was sent by this visual. So we go to the view, we will turn on the performance analyzer. We'll start recording. We will refresh all the visuals in this page. Now within this table, you can notice my DAX query was taking 14 milliseconds. And this is the query. So let's copy this. So in order to execute this query directly on top of your engine, we will go to the external tools, the DAX Studio first. So the DAX Studio will help you to execute this DAX query on top of your data model. So since we also need what the queries were and how much time was your formula engine and your storage engine was taking, we need to turn on the server timings on the home ribbon. I've turned it on. I will paste it. Now let's run this DAX query. Now let's start with the result. You can notice we are having 4 rows here. The last 3 represents the sum of these measures based on 3 models, and the first row is the grand total that we are seeing. But how many queries were generated by your formula engine to your storage engine in order to get this result? Think about it. Let's find out. So let's go to the server timings. You can see that your formula engine was taking 7 milliseconds, whereas your storage engine was taking less than 1 millisecond. Why and what is happening behind the scenes? So there was only one query that was generated. And look at what this query is. We will start with the from clause first. The from is basically doing a left outer join between the product table and the product model. This is what we often call as table expansion, which means since the product table is on the many side and the product model is on the one side, we automatically do a left outer join in order to pull the related information of your product model. I hope you recall we added some filters at the report page and the visual level. Those were automatically added in the where clause here, right? And the different measures and the product models that we have used within that visual is automatically used in your select statement. So there is only one query that is generated in order to get all the data that we need. So this is often called as vertical fusioning. So to give you a much better understanding of how this fusioning is happening, let me go back to my whiteboard. If you recall that visual had 3 measures, the total standard cost, the total list price, and the total number of products by different product models. We had different filters, somewhere at the report, somewhere at the page level, somewhere at the visual level. Now, when I say vertical fusioning, which means there is a pattern it finds vertically. So for all these 3 measures, these filters are same, right? I hope you all agree to it. So the same filters are being applied for each one of these measures. So rather than sending 3 different queries with the same filters, it vertically combines all 3 into one, and that's what you saw here. One query which is doing the vertical fusion. Now let's change our requirement a bit. So rather than looking at total number of products, let's say I want to see the total products for the color blue and the red separately. So I have 2 measures in this data model. One is total blue colored products, which filters only for the product color blue. Another measure, total red products, which filters only for the color red. So I'm going to remove the total products measure from this table visual and have my total products, blue products, and the total red products in this table. So let's find out how many queries are sent to your storage engine. I go back to my performance analyzer. I will start recording. I will refresh the visuals and get the DAX query. Back to my DAX Studio. Let's paste it and let's run it. Now you can notice it's not one query that was generated. Rather, we are having three queries that were generated, which means we don't have the same pattern across all those measures. Why is the pattern breaking? Let's find out that first. So coming back, we have a set of filters. There are certain filters that are common across all these measures. For example, the weight is common. The standard cost filter is also common. The model name filter is also common, but the color red can be applied only for the total red colored products measure. Similarly, the color blue is being applied only for the total blue colored products measure, which means that the pattern is common only for the first two measures, total standard cost and total list price. And hence it is doing a vertical join. And hence we see the first query is doing a left outer join between the product and the product model, where it does the sum of list price and sum of product standard cost only for the product model and for the weight and the standard cost. But what about the total blue colored and the total red colored? Since the pattern is breaking, it is now sending two individual queries, one for the color blue and the last one is for the color red. Is there a way by which we can instruct our formula engine rather than sending three different queries? Can you horizontally combine the color filter so that we are having one single query to get the result that we need? Let's find out how it can be done. So for horizontal fusioning to work, you need to turn it on in preview features. So let's go to File, Options and Settings, Options, Preview Features. Let's have the horizontal fusion turned on. I'll say OK. So it needs to be restarted. So with preview features on, I have now reopened my Power BI desktop. So let's find out how many queries were generated by your formula engine to your storage engine. So let's take the DAX query. So let's start recording. Let's refresh the visuals. So from the table, I'll copy that query. I'll go back to my DAX Studio and I will run it. So I got the result. Let's look at the server timings. You can see that there are two queries that were generated rather than three. So before we look at what those queries are, let's go back and find out by ourselves. You can notice that for total blue colored products and the total red colored products, it was not able to do a vertical fusioning because the pattern was very different. So for the pattern to be same, rather than having the color red and color blue as two different filters, it is combining that into one, where we say color is either red or blue. So once it is combining the colors into one filter, naturally it can do a vertical fusioning for the last two measures, the blue colored products and the red colored products. So let's check if our understanding is correct. I'll go back. The first query that you see here is doing the sum of list price, the sum of product cost by product model, where you can see the where clause is at the report level, it is at the page level, it is at the visual level, which is product model, it is on the product weight, and it is on the standard cost. But let's look at the next query. Here you can notice it still does a left outer join, but the where clause includes the color is either red or blue, the product model is that set, the weight as well as the standard cost is being included. So fusioning happens quite automatically by your DAX engine, but you just need to remember it works much better only on regular relationships and not on limited relationships. So have you tried fusioning before?